Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of The Resilient Show. I'm here with Brian Dickinson, and this is going to be a really wild episode. Brian's story is absolutely incredible. We met, I was speaking in your hometown?
Yeah, in Seattle.
Yeah, from Seattle. And you were you weren't the speaker the year before me. You were the initial speaker from that community event.
Yep.
We met there. You and your wife who's here with us today, and I learned about your story, and you gave me your book, and it's just an incredible story. And I know a lot of people already know about it, but I felt like immediately like I want more people to know about your story and what God did, because it was an absolute miracle in my opinion of what happened to you, and the story is going to get bigger and bigger because it's going to be made into a motion picture film. Is we allowed to say that now?
Sure.
Yeah, we're gonna. Everybody I've told about it is like, that needs to be a movie, and I agree, it has to be a movie. So if you hadn't heard it yet, we're gonna break Brian's story here. Before we start talking, I want to read his bio so that you guys will get a picture of who we're going to talk to today. Brian is a former U.S. Navy Aviation Rescue Swimmer, which if you're not familiar with that, everybody thinks of the Navy and the best swimmers in the Navy being SEALs, the rescue swimmers. Going out in those crazy ocean waters to being able to rescue pilots. You guys are incredible swimmers. He's also a best-selling author, keynote speaker, and extreme adventurer. He served 6 years in the Navy, including 2 tours in the Gulf as part of Operation Southern Watch in 2011. Brian achieved the remarkable feat of soloing the summit of Mount Everest. Tragically, during his descent, he went completely snowblind, stranded at 29,000 feet with no vision, no guide, and dwindling oxygen. Relying on his training, faith, and determination, Brian made a harrowing 7-hour descent to safety. He has authored 2 books, Blind Descent, Surviving Alone and Blind on Mount Everest, and Calm in the Chaos, True Tales from Elite U.S. Navy Aviation Rescue Swimmers. Brian, thanks for being here with us, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
it's amazing how we met and everything. It's just, God puts us together for a reason. And just right away, we're doing book exchanges and hanging out up in Seattle or random places in the rain. But
yeah. And you didn't only do this show, but you're in town. You went and visit. We have a mutual friend, Marcus Luttrell and Melanie, and you went and visit Marcus and Melanie.
Yeah, great people.
Did their show yesterday. So if you don't get enough of the story here, maybe Marcus asks different questions, talked about different things. You guys catch him on that episode as well. Team Never Quit podcast. Right. Team Never Quit podcast. So before we get started in your story with the military and your adventure climbing, can you tell us a little bit about just your life growing up, where you grew up, and what might have led you to joining the military and living this life of adventure? Yeah,
I grew up in in the 80s. I'm about to turn 51. I think you turned 50, right?
Yeah, we're the same age, pretty much. Yeah,
yep.
You're older, but
thanks. I'll always be older. But yeah, just growing up in the 80s, didn't have technology or anything, and grew up in Southern Oregon, so in the mountains. Always adventurous. Just different layers of traumatic events, seeing things as kids shouldn't see, as a child. But, always outdoors and, just kind of finding my peace, in hiking and rafting and jumping off bridges into the river and all that fun stuff. Always into sports. Just always staying busy.
Yeah. What, I guess what were you, at a young age, were you inspired to join the military?
I don't know. I don't know if I ever really thought, it's kind of when I look at my own path, my journey, I don't think I really thought I would go in the military just because I came from a military family, a lot of Navy, from my grandpa to my dad to my brother. But
so your dad being in the Navy, were you based there? Like, is that what?
No, he was in during Vietnam.
Okay.
And then just moved to Southern Oregon, and he was a contractor.
Okay.
But yeah, just, you hear all the stories growing up, and I don't know, it was always an option. But then, Top Gun comes around and Navy SEAL movies, and it's like, okay, no, there's actually some interesting things that, could possibly do, like, Goose, getting picked up by the rescue swimmers and stuff. I'm like, that's interesting. That's a little adventure. I don't know if I want to go straight to college, and, so wanted to go see the world, and just decided to,
Did you swim growing up? Like, were you a swimmer?
What's interesting is I didn't learn to swim until maybe 4th or 5th grade.
Okay.
I was always scared of the water. I don't know if something traumatic happened. I know I was in the age of throw the kid in the pool and see if they can swim. And, I was the one on the bottom walking across and trying to find the ladder. And I don't remember anyone jumping in to get me. So maybe I'm fortunate to be alive. But I was kind of fearful of the water. I had a friend who had a pool and I would just hold on to the sides. But once I learned, the next thing I knew, I was swimming in the rivers, the Rogue River, jumping off, 40, 60 foot bridges, rope swings and everything. So I guess at some point I overcame those fears.
Did you swim competitively or anything?
No, so my town had like 2,000 people, like 69 in my graduating class.
So there's no swim team?
No swim team at all. No, I played soccer, played golf, tennis.
So, I mean, you joined the Navy. What age?
I was 18.
Okay, so like what, 93, 94?
Yeah, I went in 93.
I'd say same as me. So, had a lot of military guys on the show, a lot of special operations guys, but we've never had a rescue swimmer.
Nice.
And so I'd love to educate the audience on, first of all, how you chose that job at the recruiter and what a Navy rescue swimmer actually is.
Yeah. So I went into the recruiter and they told me just to figure it out once I get, just sign here and then you can figure it out later.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, maybe. And I went back and my dad actually said, no, you go and get what you want guaranteed.
Right.
Like even if you fail, at least you had something guaranteed. So I went back and looking through like the Blue Jacket manual, because internet didn't work back then or anything. It didn't exist. So saw some, cool pictures, like that's cool. I wanted to go into SEALs, into some sort of special operations. But there's a high attrition rate. There's a high attrition rate with rescue swimmers as well. But I wanted to start there in case, fail out for something outside of my control or something in my control. You just never know. Life happens. So went through that, took the CLN test like my whole class did. They were kind of all on the same path. And
I just want to ask before you go into the actual training, like did the recruiter, so you sign up for rescue swimmer at the recruiter, is there a test at the recruiter of how good, if you could swim or not?
No.
Isn't that crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like you're gonna go in the Navy, they're hiring you to be a swimmer, and they don't even test you to be a swimmer.
I think they looked at me. I had to get a waiver because I was so small.
Yeah.
That he looked at me and was like, "Yeah, good luck."
Yeah,
he's like, "You're gonna wash out."
Crazy to me, like the recruiters do this. Finally, the recruiters are starting to do assessments at the recruiting station. So you dep in, right? And they don't even. You probably you're just filling a quota, not even knowing you're gonna be able to pass this training.
Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah, so you have a. If you can prepare, you're going to have less attrition. Like, it's like a badge of honor to have 50, 60% attrition. Like, oh, I made it through.
Wasting the taxpayer dollars when they could prepare people.
Yeah. I mean, should most of these people have been there in the first place?
Exactly. Yeah. So you go to regular Navy boot camp. Mm-hmm. Everybody goes at that time, everyone went to the same boot camp.
I would know at that time there was still San Diego, Orlando, and Great Lakes. Now it's all just Great Lakes. And I was in Orlando. During that, they had a dive motivator. So anyone going special ops, so SEALs, rescue swimmers, SWIC, diver, EOD, you would wake up at like 4 in the morning, 3, 4 in the morning, and you'd be holding bricks above your head in the water. So there was a weed out test at that point, and then you did your swim test and your running and all kinds of stuff. And by the time you get done, everyone else is just waking up and doing their showers and everything. So you join up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was cool. And some people did weed out. Other people just kind of like made it through somehow.
Yeah.
I think it was easy to talk your way out of it. But then once you got to air crew and rescue swimmer school, they didn't make it very long.
Where's that at?
Pensacola.
And how long is it?
So when I went through, air crew was 5 weeks, and that's where you're doing the helo dunker and water, land survival, learning all the equipment, the physiological stuff, seeing how you do at altitude, flares, all the gear, all the fun stuff, doing. I don't remember if we did like a mile swimmer. There's a long swim wearing like full gear and everything. And then from there, it was 4 weeks in rescue swimmer school. And that's where you see a pretty high attrition rate.
Yeah. Yeah. So almost 3 months total for the training. And
well, from start to finish, it's because from there, then you go to your A school. So I was anti-submarine warfare. So learning all about submarines, sonar buoys, and then you go to SEER school, and there's some different acoustic schools, and then you go to the helicopter replacement squadron where you start flying. So in all, it's just less than 2 years before you actually get your wings.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess what's the hard part? This hard water part. What part of that training is that?
Yeah. So rescue swimmer school is where most people will get weeded out.
Yeah, give us a day in the life of that training.
Yeah.
I'm curious because I've never.
Yeah,
spoke to anyone
it's
about
tough. I mean, it's up there. Most people don't work well in oxygen deprived areas. Most people aren't great swimmers, and every day they're pushing you to your limits. And that's, the beginning of the day, it's just make your body jello because you're out in push-up position for an hour, just doing flutter kicks and just everything out in the sand, just running, miles, and you're pretty wasted at that point, but physically anyone can, you do enough working out and you're going to get there. But it's in the early afternoon, you do some classwork like advanced first aid and all the equipment, everything else. And then you're in the pool, and you're in the pool for a long time. And then there's bay swims and everything else as well. But that's where you're learning life saving. So basically hand-to-hand combat, they call it water jiu-jitsu now.
Yeah, because you get somebody drowning, they gotta.
Yeah, because
you become the buoyant object that they're
exactly.
trying to climb on top of.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I call it like the ultimate form of serving others, like in the military, because you are literally jumping out of a perfectly good helicopter in the middle of the ocean, whatever sea state, and someone is in shock and in panic, and they're, realistically trying to kill you without trying to kill you. They're just panicked, and you have to gain control of them, and you have to know all the different ejection platforms. For us, it was F-18s, F-14s, like a lot of legacy stuff. Now it's, the newer generation, but you have to know like all the different, clips and, buckles and everything, oxygen, helmets, because once they're in the water, and they're trying to attack you, they may still have shroud lines or chutes still attached, dragging them down as a sea anchor. So there's just all these things you have to know. And the techniques for like life-saving, just understanding, like when I went through, I know they've changed it a lot. We would actually take them deep. So when you take people underwater, there's no oxygen underwater. So they want to get to the surface. Yeah. So now you've gained control of them because now they may be in shock and panicked. Now they're not trying to hold on to you. They're trying to get to the top, and then you can use your techniques to, pressure points and different things to do your brake holds and releases, gain control of them, and then get them, 70 feet up into the helicopter.
I went to a course called McQuist, Marine Combat Instructor of Water Survival. Mm-hmm. And even with all the special operations training, to me, that was the most difficult school I went to in the military. Probably one of the higher attrition rate schools. And it was, Marine Corps runs, every Marine has to go through water survival training for different levels depending on their job. Mm-hmm. And so every unit has a McQuist. And as an instructor, same thing, students are going to, that aren't comfortable with water, they're going to try to drown you. So you do a lot of the rescue techniques and it's one of the easiest ways to get a panic victim off of you is to go down because they want air. So if you go down when there's no air, you go away. So you do a lot of those techniques. It's, I'm sure somewhat similar. You've seen the movie. I'm sure you've seen the movie and probably been asked this 1,000 times. The Guardian.
Yeah, it's good.
Ashton Kutcher.
When Ashton plays your role, I mean, you've arrived.
Yeah. So how accurate is that movie compared to? I mean, I know it's Coast Guard versus Navy.
Well, no. When I went through, I had it was combined back then.
Okay.
So now it's separate. Yeah, because the Navy rescue swimmers were around before the Coast Guard. Coast Guard, we just have different mission sets, but there's so much overlap.
Right.
They're more on the perimeters, of the water in the U.S.
So it was a combined school at one point?
Yeah. Yep.
Right. So pretty similar. So the movie got it right?
Yeah. I mean, there's always Hollywood involved. Yeah. There's some cheesy stuff there, but yeah, for the training, everything else. I don't remember punching anyone. In the fleet I did, but not, sometimes you got to get someone off your back.
Yeah.
They're trying to drag you down.
What was the attrition rate in your class?
It's around like 40-50%, but that's not necessarily total. So if you have like the original group that goes through, because you'll get rolled back, so it's hard to tell. But yeah, it's pretty high. And then one trainee got killed, a few years prior in the training, so they're revamping everything. And I know one did just a couple years ago as well. So safety is always super important, but stuff happens and we learn the hard way.
So for you personally, looking back, having completed that training what do you think from your childhood gave you, I mean, obviously as a mental and physical resiliency and toughness to be able to complete that kind of training? What do you think you took into that training from growing up that made you able to pass that?
Yeah, it's tough because my grandpa was kind of my father figure. Growing up, he lived across the creek, so I grew up with alcoholism and different things in the house and abuse, and he was my safety, and he was everything. Halfway through rescue swimmer school, I just got through life saving. I was about to get into multis where you start rescuing down pilots and everything. He shot himself, so I actually had to pause and take emergency leave, which saw him. And the last thing he ever told me is, he's proud of me, and you got to do what you got to do and just be the best at what you do. So I got back, and they actually put me.
When you say he shot himself, did he die or was he still alive?
No, he survived.
He survived. Okay.
Yeah, so not for long.
Yeah.
So I got to see him right before he passed. He had found out he had cancer. My grandma had cancer and died, and he just wasn't ready to go through that.
Yeah.
So it's like the strongest man that I know, and then he attempted suicide.
Well, you kind of brushed through it. What was that conversation like? Like you take leave. He shot himself, and now he's like on his deathbed, and he's giving you his like final words of wisdom. What was?
Yeah, and I didn't know if it'd be his final words or anything, but it was hard. It was hard to see, the strongest person I know sitting there with all the tubes on him and recovering, and I think the shame, of what he did, and it was really hard. And then taking that.
What was the words he said to you again?
He just said he was proud of me, and he knew what I was going through. It was really hard, the training, because he was former Navy, and just said, do what you have to do and be the best at what you do. It's very simple.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So then I had to go back, and they didn't think, because physically you can get through a lot of these schools, emotionally,
Right.
it's all a mental game. So they put me in front of a board. One of the instructors like, no, you're out of here. So I had to.
I didn't think you'd be able to endure that loss and then be able to finish the training.
Yeah. Like, well, okay, let me try,
Yeah.
So I got in front of the board, and I basically told them what my grandpa told me, and it must have been sad enough for them to go, okay, we're going to give you a shot. And I went through, and once I made it through, it's, 2-3 more weeks, made it through, and I was jumping out of helicopters, and then, he passed away not too long after that.
So he got to know you fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you get to the fleet. You're a rescue swimmer.
Yep.
I'm asking a lot of this because I'm not too familiar. I'm very interested. Like, what's the structure? Like, are you in a rescue swimmer team? Or you're a squadron? Is it a collateral duty?
Yeah,
like,
it's a squadron, and it is kind of collateral because we do think of. So I was on an aircraft carrier. I was with the squadron attached to the USS Constellation. When they went out, we went out. Helicopter is always the first and last aircraft to take off and land. Always have to be in the air at night. Might have multiple helicopters, but anything a helicopter does, we do. So rescue swimmer, you always have a SAR asset ready to go. Combat search and rescue. We're working with other special ops and doing infills, exfills. We're aerial gunners. And we were using old school M60s that jammed every 10 rounds, and then we went to M240s. Now they got like mini guns and Hellfire and doing all taking out Houthis. So anti-submarine warfare. We're dipping sonar, dropping sonobuoys, looking for bad guys out there.
So you're doing all kind of things, and
vert ref,
if you need to,
holy helo. We'd bring on Sundays, bringing out the chaplains, hoisting them down to like a submarine or something.
Oh wow, yeah,
that was cool.
Yeah, that's it. So obviously, rescue swimmers aren't just used in wartime. People are training. The military trains hard. Fighter pilots train hard. People crash, eject. We see it on the news all the time. During your time, did you have to do any actual rescues, or have to perform your duties as a rescue swimmer?
Yeah, there's a ton of training, ton of search. My squadron, we had a F-18 go down. We had multiple man overboards. I never had to go in the water as a rescue swimmer. I mean, I did in rivers on leave during that time. I actually rescued 3 people that just right place, right time. God just kind of puts you there. and you always wonder, like, would they be alive otherwise?
Sure.
And then once we get into mountaineering, I've had more rescues in the mountains just because of that skill set. Had multiple medevacs. We had some, one guy got his eye knocked out from a pipe on a gang war on the carrier. Like, there's 5,000 people on a carrier. There's a lot of stuff that goes down.
Yeah.
Medevaced a guy off of a submarine, had to do an emergency surface. And so, and just called on, major jet airliner went down off of Mexico, launched in the middle of the night, searched, just on NVGs, looking around, last point of entry. As far as we know, never found anything. Yeah. We had, I launched in the Gulf, it was an Iraqi fisher boat went down, and there was 5 guys in the water. They had been out there for a couple days. Half the crew got eaten by sharks. The other was, when you're in water, you probably know, your skin will deglove. It separates from the bone. Yeah. So we don't know if they're good or bad, right? From the Persian Gulf, and when you're in your early 20s, everyone's probably bad. So you're just trying to do the right thing. So we backed off, had the 240 on them. Actually had some Marine Corps come around with Zodiac, a surface rescue swimmer. So the boats have surface. We're helicopter aviation rescue swimmers. Came around, rolled the Iraqis on to the Zodiac, and still got Marine Corps watching them, got their shotguns on, and just don't know. They're pretty stoked to be alive. Like, they're just barely hanging on. So it's these, you never know. Like, every helicopter mission is some form of traumatic. My first ever flight out of training school, we hit the water. We're going in for a training, it's like a day SAR. You usually go in 10 and 10, do a jump, back off to 70, 80 feet, and, do the hoist operation, all that stuff. So as a rescue swimmer, we're air crew as well. So we're doing both jobs. You just kind of alternate. And newer pilot came in, boom, hits the water, and we're yelling altitude, and his whole thing is just shaking like crazy. It's filling up with water. Because I was sitting with my feet hanging out the door, cruising, beautiful day. I'm like, welcome to the fleet. Yeah. You take off, and it's classic, going in the internal comms. All right, this never happened. Like, okay. So you just kind of like channel, that trauma. It's like the whole thing. We're all so accustomed in the military, just, compartmentalize all the different trauma that you have, because you don't want to be labeled. You don't want to, have to admit that and, be down for flight or whatever your job is. So eventually that stuff resurfaces. So
what, phenomenal job to get to do in the military. Yeah. But at 6 years, you decided to get out. What led you to get out?
Yeah. So I was in for 5. I was on a Navy soccer team and actually snapped my ACL a week before I was getting out. So I had to have surgery, extend an extra year. So that last year I wasn't flying or anything. So 6 years. So I ended up working at the Space and Naval Warfare. But I was planning to get out. I'd done 2 deployments, Operation Southern Watch, lost, enough friends that, helicopters crash and, things happen. So it's, it's unfortunate. And I'd met my now wife, Joanna.
Yeah. That's what I asked. Did you and Joanna, were you married at the time, or?
No, we were dating for like 6 years. We met in the hot tub. She loves it when I tell that story.
Yeah, you got to tell us the story now. Now we got to know. Like, you have this thing with water, like so.
Yeah. So that's natural. And we're completely opposite. So she's definitely scared of heights and water and everything else. So it's like this perfect mix.
Not too scared. She met in the hot tub. You guys met.
That's true, right? Yeah, she had the floaties though and a life. No, she had a Gumby suit on. No, so the place I lived, and she's over there behind me, probably just shaking her head.
We got a camera zoomed right in on you, Joanne.
So me and my buddies, couple, rescue swimmers, one actually became a SEAL, and just a group of dudes. The whole place we lived is near SDSU, San Diego State. We were the only guys that lived in this townhouse. It was like just all girls. It was like, we just got back from the Gulf or like SCORE. And in our balcony that had a view of the hot tub, we had a kegerator, a spotlight, and a karaoke machine.
Oh yeah.
So I'd look out there, like, it's packed with girls. I'm like, dude, we got to get down there, right? So we go down with a pitcher of beer, sit in the water, and, you know, all the girls are like, oh my gosh, you know, what do you do? And I turned around and got up, and my shorts were pretty low.
Super short shorts, right?
Yeah, but I pulled them down so my butt cheeks were hanging out. I said, I'm a plumber. And they're like, oh my gosh, you're so funny. And then Joanna's just like, you're a jerk. And I'm like, ooh, I like this one. I liked her anyway. I couldn't even look at her because she's so beautiful. Like I was like, you know, in a daze, one of those like love at first sights. And, but we had a lot of, you know, dysfunction that we both came from. And, you know, we dated for a lot of time, and we went to a counselor at one point. I know we'll get into like other stuff, but I think this is interesting. And the counselor said, you know, this was in the 90s, and I didn't grow up where you'd go see counseling because you'd have to admit you have a problem. And she basically said, stand up, turn around opposite ways, never look back. Like we're so opposite. And we're like, oh, challenge accepted.
Yeah.
So, but we had a small church we went to, and that it kept us anchored. And it's so important to, if you focus on each other, anything on this earth, you're going to fail. We're going to disappoint.
Yeah.
We all come short. When you focus on God and you're both focused on God, it's that pyramid.
Yeah.
You come together and you have that common goal.
Yeah, it brings you closer together. But who brought faith into the relationship? Is it something you guys both were interested in, or?
So Joanna grew up Southern Baptist, so which was pretty hardcore. I was on the opposite extreme. I was Lutheran, which I guess is like Catholic light.
Yeah.
But the church and the local bar were had the same parking lot. So a lot of times we were dropped off, and, you know, so it wasn't like the best experience.
Yeah.
In boot camp on Sundays, you can go to church or you can like work out or whatever. So the churches are just packed, right? I don't know if that was the same for you. So I went to church, and then I don't know, just kind of found others of faith, you know, in my squadron, and we just became close. I don't know. We'll argue about who brought who to what, but in the end, we both ended up at this church. She definitely had a stronger background than I did, so I'll give her all credit. She has all credit for everything. So Joanna did.
All right. Yeah. Faith in Joanna, the foundation for you guys' relationship.
Yep.
So, you know, she's a part of the decision. You get out. What's your plan to get out? What are you going to do for a living?
So before I'd snapped my knee, I was going to, you know, probably go to college. I was already going to college while I was in, but continue that. But I was going to be a cook actually at the Hotel del Coronado. Yeah, because my neighbor was the head chef there. He's like, yeah, get you a job here. So I'm like, okay, because before I went in the Navy, that was my job. I was like a prep cook and everything, so I enjoy cooking. Bust out my knee. Then I worked at Space and Naval Warfare, so I was working in technology at that point. That was kind of where it was booming, like getting all the certifications and everything. We got married, and then moved to the Pacific Northwest, where we both got our master's degrees. And Joanna's a Christian counselor, had our daughter and son, and I was working at Expedia, which is part of Microsoft, and then Cisco Systems, and just the high tech industry for a long time. But I had this adventure gap. You know, you don't go jumping out of helicopters doing that type of job to sitting behind a desk. It's difficult, and living in the Pacific Northwest, there's a lot of mountains. So yeah, just started taking to the skies.
Yeah. So you started off as hobbyish, just climbing mountains in Pacific Northwest. When did you take it? Did you immediately take it seriously, or when did you take it more seriously?
Yeah, I tend to take things a little to the extreme. Just wired differently, like yourself. Yeah. I think I came home one day and just said, hey, Joanna, I think I'd already maybe climbed Mount Rainier.
Yeah.
But just said, yeah, I'm going to climb the highest peaks on the 7 continents.
That's what I was saying. You don't just go from like hobbyist hiker in the Pacific Northwest to climbing Mount Everest.
Yeah.
Like there's a transition there. Like,
Yeah. It was a pretty quick transition, but I don't know. I feel like if you're a big goal setter, you set these, you know, hellacious goals, you know, even if you fall short, like that's okay.
Sure.
Failure's all a part of life. But having those goals, as soon as you set it, you start visualizing it, you start training for it, becomes interesting and a part of your life. Yeah. So not a lot of people had done the 7 summits. It's getting more popular now, but there's still a handful of them that people will never quite finish. So
what are they with seven summits?
You can go top to bottom. So Everest is in Asia. You got Aconcagua in South America. Mm-hmm. Vinson Massif in Antarctica. Denali in North America. It's up in Alaska. Elbrus, which is in Russia, down in the Caucasus Range. Mm-hmm. Kilimanjaro in Africa. And there's Carson's Pyramid, which is in like Papua New Guinea area.
Yeah.
They call it like Oceania, or you can do, there's alternative ones. Kosciuszko in Australia. And I chose Kosciuszko because I had my whole family do it. That's how we finished them together.
Yeah.
So the kids were like 5 and 8 doing that. So it was a cool experience. But yeah, my first one was Denali, and in 2009, and we were pinned down at high camp. So Denali's a beast. You know, the mountain will determine whether you get on top or not. It's crazy weather. We were pinned down at, high camp at 17,000 feet for a week. Like, it was so cold. I was just sitting there, you're bored for a week, right? My breath, the moisture would freeze. You breathe and it just freezes. It's like 60-mile-an-hour winds, and it was brutal. One guy from another team walked through our camp. We tried to talk him out of it. He was I'm going for the summit. It's like 60-mile-an-hour winds. We're like, that's a bad idea. So you can't like take him down and zip tie him. Like, he made his choice, and he, I guess, blew off the top. They still haven't found him. C-130s were flying with their infrared looking for him. We made our summit attempt like the next day, and we were looking for him, got within 1,000 feet, and it was just too dangerous to go on. So we turned around, lived to climb another day.
Got within 1,000 feet of the summit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's part of my journey. It's interesting because I am such a goal setter and I want to accomplish things. I've been on Denali 3 times. I snowboarded it once. I've not stood on top, been within 1,000 feet, been up to high camp, and rescued.
You think 1,000 feet's not far, right? But those conditions,
and
every foot is far.
It's very exposed.
Yeah.
So you have to make, you have all the gear, everything else, but there's just been too many deaths up there. One person falls, it takes the whole rope team off. So you make good choices, go back down. Mountain's always there. Maybe I'll go back, but I'm not going to kill myself going after I don't know. I simplify things a lot of times, like climbing mountains. If you think about it, it's kind of dumb. Like, you climb up, it's miserable. You stand on top for, a few minutes, and then you go back down. Mm. But it's more than that. All these things that we do, it's so much more than that. And I think it's just important to understand the differences. So
what are they? What are the differences? Like, what makes it worth it? You explain climbing perfectly. Like, it sucks. It sucks the whole way up. You get up there, you're up there for a minute. You have to you go back down. Like, you're away from family. It's just harsh, adverse conditions. So why? Like, what's
exactly why. And it's something different for every person. And everyone's brave behind a keyboard. So what
is it for you?
For me, it's who I am. It's how I'm wired, and it's this journey that I've been on to find my purpose. Mm-hmm. And that purpose we'll talk about, definitely was shown to me on Everest. But I am adventurous. I feel very close to God in those situations. There's no internet or any of the rat race, just the clutter that we see down at sea level. But it's also the training and just the mindset.
Because you train up for months to do a summit. When you're summiting like 29,000 feet, you have to train for months.
Oh yeah, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're just showing up, and Marcus and Morgan were like, we're turning 50. We want to go climb Everest. I'm like, good luck with that, dude.
Yeah.
And Melanie's like, no, he's not doing that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But yeah, no, it is.
What is like? How long do you train for? Like,
so.
I know you stay in shape, right?
Yeah.
But how long do you train? Like, what's a prep to train for?
Yeah, it depends on the different mountains. So there's certain mountains where you're carrying a lot of gear. So on Aconcagua and Denali. So like Denali specifically, you have maybe 60, 70 pounds in a pack and another maybe 50 in a sled. So you're carrying that for like 15 miles just to get to 14,000 feet. And then it's just the pack going up these, tight, really, really steep mountain walls, then on these ridges to get to high camp. And then you might have a lesser of a pack to get to the summit and back down, but enough stuff to survive. So it's a lot of gear that you're carrying. You have to have the physical strength, but you have to have that mental strength, because every step, there's like no adrenaline rush, in climbing. It's slow motion. There's just, you're oxygen deprived. It's just slow moving. It can take, 5 seconds or more between each step. And it's just all those 5 seconds, you're contemplating, what the heck am I doing here?
Yeah.
This is stupid. But if you get in your own head, gravity's on your side, turn around and go down. It's easy. But then you're going to beat yourself up because you created this goal and this isn't who you are. And other people may not understand that, but it's pushing yourselves beyond your limits. And I think even as being a father, leaving kids at home, it's really hard, but I've also shown them who I am, how God wired me, and that I do take calculated risks. I try to make good choices that are within, my knowledge at that time. But I come back and, they can see the difference, and they have a different mindset because of it. And I can see it in their individual personalities.
Yeah. So, clearly it's pretty obvious. Like if you're training for a mountain that's going to require you to drag 100 pounds, right? A sled, 50 in a sled, 50 in a backpack. You have to train physically for it. And you get in a regimen of how to train physically, but how do you train mentally to do that 5-second step to where you're shallow, sucking through a gas mask, oxygen mask, you're grinding it out, you're enduring the weather, the temptation to turn around's there the whole time.
Yeah.
Fear is looming. Like, what do you do to train for the mental side of it?
Yeah, it's tough, because if you turn around during a training climb, you'll definitely turn around during an actual climb. And I find the training like almost more fulfilling. It's always like the journey is the whole thing.
Same thing with fighting.
Yeah.
Like the training camps where it's at.
Yeah, totally. So I think that's a lot of things in what we do. That's why college is so fun. And then you go and work the rest of your life and it may not be as fun, but you're learning all that stuff, and you're preparing. And I think that preparation is huge. Mentally, I climb alone a lot. When you have other people, I think you have each other either to motivate each other or to demotivate, but a lot of times you can like be there for each other. Me being by myself, I'm in my own head. There's been so many times where I'm like, I don't feel like it. I'm just going to go back. I'm like, I'm going to take one more step, and then one more step. And eventually those one more steps, you get out of your own head, you're on top, maybe of a training climb, like a 5,000, 6,000 foot peak. And I'm like, I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's water weight. Like because I'm always carrying like 60, 70 pounds, dump that, save the knees on the descent. But I don't know, one of my sayings is it's the hardest part is getting there, but you're always glad you did. And I think that's so true, just with so many things. In fact, even when you were in Seattle giving that talk, Joanna's like, hey, Chad Robichaux is going to be there. I'm like, nah. I want to meet him, but I'm like so comfortable right now. I'm just hanging out. I think it was a Friday night or something. But I'm like, I got up and we went, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad. I know, because now we're texting all the time, and like such a solid dude, and that's how friendships are made. But it goes back to that simplest thing. I was comfortable at home. I could have just stayed home and it'd been another Friday night. But something about this relationship, like the individual choice you make when no one's looking. So I laugh at myself sometimes if I'm out on a jog, and I'll be a turnaround point, and I'll say, okay, I'm gonna turn around at that stop sign. Like in my mind, I won't allow myself. I have to touch it or pass it. I won't turn around like a foot before, because I feel like I cheated something. And no one knows. Like it's just a run. Like it's just a workout jog. It's not a race. There's no integrity in it. Yeah.
But for me, like I have to. If I said I'm gonna go to that stop sign, I have to touch it. I have to pass it. Like it's just something.
That's funny. I do the same. I have out of our house. I have it's like a 2-mile turnaround. So if I'm just doing like a weighted pack or something, but it's hilly, there is a power pole. It's like has the tar on it and everything.
Yeah.
I will touch that with my foot. Oop.
Yeah.
Not a foot before it. Maybe I'll go past it.
Yeah.
That's a good day, but I will touch it. So that's so funny.
Yeah. It's like internal, like, you didn't cheat yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one's watching either.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's on you.
I've caught myself over the years, like I maybe had like started to, and I'm like, nope, I go back around it and just do that. Yeah. It's funny. You mentioned something that I've been speaking, you and I both speak, and I've been speaking a lot on fear, the topic of fear. I've been doing a talk on it. And one of the things I talk about in the topic of fear is that fear in doing scary things, it creates an opportunity for you to succumb to that fear or become closer to God. And you talked about that in your talk, as you were mentioning earlier, like being on a mountain gives you a chance to become closer to God. And every time I've like fought MMA or did something crazy in Afghanistan or even these humanitarian things like that I've done, it's been just crazy environments where I've been confronted with fear. I've used that as an opportunity to be closer to God. And I could see that. I could definitely see that in climbing. The isolation, the time alone in your head, in those moments, just an opportunity to be closer to God. Has that been very much the case for you?
Well, yeah. And especially, after everything that's happened, just because panic attacks and everything can come, like my verse, life verse, Psalm 46:10, be still and know that I'm God. I was pinned down on Aconcagua, solo the summit, at 23,000 feet, and there's 100-mile-an-hour winds the next day. And I had maybe 100 pounds in my pack coming out because there's another situation that I won't talk about. But gathering someone else's gear, I was anchored with rocks, boulders on a tent. I was being dragged. The whole tent was just collapsing on me through the night. I didn't sleep the whole night. I just went through that. Be still, know that I'm God. By myself. I'm back up against the wall, wondering if like a major rock is going to come out, just blow off and hit me in the head or whatever. Just having that fear through the night, being sleep deprived, just went up to 23,000 feet. I'm just completely exhausted. And it is, in that moment, just repeating that over and over until the sun came up and I could get out of there. It'll definitely, there's an opportunity there for sure.
Yeah.
And you can try to do things on your own, or you can give it to God, and God has it. Yeah.
I used to think, like, I remember I watched, I think the movie was K2. Remember, it was like, you and I are the same age. There's a movie called K2 back in the, probably like the early 90s, maybe, or late 80s. And I remember thinking like this infatuation with climbing, and it never seemed like overly difficult to me. I always like, I'll do that one day. It didn't seem like a big challenge. And I was in Pakistan and went up Nanga Parbat, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Nanga Parbat, I think it means killer mountain.
Nice.
And I got up to the place called Fairy Meadows, which we stayed there, and then we went above Fairy Meadows, whatever camp was above Fairy Meadows. We were about at 17,000 feet, and right before the sun went down, I got hit with altitude sickness. And at 17,000 feet doesn't sound like a lot, but I got hit with altitude sickness, and we couldn't come down. I had to endure the night, and it totally changed my perspective on climbing, like how fast. And how fast and how dangerous it could get. And the Sherpa that was with me, he was a guy who I worked with quite a bit as part of my military side of what I was there for. He had taken several climbers to the top of Nanga Parbat at K2. He's had a number of climbers die on him, many from altitude sickness. And seeing his fear for me, and he like basically put my head in his lap like a little kid and took a towel and was like wiping my head the whole night. And I felt like I literally wanted to crack my skull open. Like that pressure, like I wanted to like crack my skull open to relieve that pressure. It was so terrible. And then we, next morning when the sun came up, we were able to go down and descend in it, and it went away as soon as we descended.
That's the only cure.
Yeah. But man, like that opened my eyes like, wow, this is not only something that's difficult, but it's extremely dangerous, and things change so quick. Yeah. Like, and that's always just stuck with me. And created like this like kind of lingering, like if I ever thought I would go climb Everest again, that'd be the first thing I think about is that altitude sickness. Have you dealt with altitude sickness yourself, or?
Yeah, I think every human has. And it is
every human that's been at altitude.
yeah, exactly. Every human climber. Even Sherpa, they live in high altitudes, but on Everest and some of these, bigger mountains, they're human. It's brutal. Even when I went into Everest, I had a head cold, like the Lama did a blessing down lower, like camps lower, and he was super sick. And then I caught it. It's like, and got into 17,500 feet in base camp, and same thing. Like, you can look at pictures and my forehead is like swollen. I just had to get out of there, and we still had to stay there for like a day and like a puja ceremony and all this stuff. And just getting down, hiking 5 miles down and dropping.
Every step's like through your head.
It's brutal, and it's scary because especially when the sun is down, you get claustrophobic. Yeah. Because it's not just your tent collapsing on you and it could be windy, all these other things. It's your head is collapsing, and you get in your own head at that point, like, am I dying? Because
now you get panic attacks.
It sucks.
Yeah.
Sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah, it was terrible. It was like, kind of woke me up to like, this is, climbing is a. And
that's at 17,000. Everest is over 2 vertical miles higher than that.
Yeah. Insane. So tell us about Everest. What put Everest on your radar? Because it's
one of the 7 summits.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was number 4. So I'd attempted Denali, I'd climbed Kilimanjaro and went to Elbrus in Russia. And Joanna actually came with me. She went up to the base camp. So that was cool. She was like at 13,000 feet and went up. That one's at 18,500. And then Everest was the next.
So what year was Everest?
2011.
2011.
So Everest is, all the different mountains that I went to are logistically difficult. Everest with the permits, getting some Sherpa support, if you're going Western guided, getting the whole guided group and everything, and then financially. So I had sponsors. I went independent. So I wasn't going as a part of a big group.
We say financially, like, I think people will be shocked to know, like, what's it cost, like, bottom to top, one person to summit Everest?
I don't know what it currently is. I was in the 30 range, but I know back then if you went like guided, it could be in the 60, even to 100.
Yeah, I know for K2, like when I was in Pakistan, it was just about 50. So,
okay. Yeah. And that's gear. That's everything. Yeah. But you take a 2-month vacation somewhere, you're going to spend some money. Maybe not that much, but
sure.
It depends on your vacation. This is definitely not a vacation.
Because you don't just fly there for the weekend and summit Everest. You're there for how long?
Yeah, so it's a 2-month expedition.
Okay.
So I mean that's important to talk about because Everest stands at 29,035 feet. So above 26,000, it's the death zone. So there's only a third of the air up there, a third of the ozone. So if you were to pluck your body from here and put you on the summit, you'd pass out and die. So you have
almost instantly.
Yeah. So just like if you're flying in a plane, right?
Yeah.
Because if you get depressurized, oxygen drops. Otherwise,
I'm sure you have been. But I've been in for free fall, military free fall. We'd have to go to HAPS, the HAPS chamber, high altitude pressure chamber. I forget how often we do it. Maybe every year, but you go in and you get checked off to be able to. It's part of your, being able to be eligible to do military free fall. And the HAPS chamber, I think it like, I want to say like 15,000 feet, everyone takes their mask off and you do a math test. And then they take it up to like 25,000 feet and one person takes their mask off to do this test for everyone to see. Oh. And right when he takes his mask off, he's just like,
yeah,
and they put it back on. And so, I mean, like almost instantly.
Yeah. In air crew, we went through something similar. I don't remember how high we went. All I remember is we felt pretty drunk. That was my first time being at altitude. And I just remember, with altitude, you have, high altitude cerebral edema, HACE, high altitude pulmonary edema, and HAPE, and then the not so known as the HAFE, the flatulence, the gas that you get from altitude. You take that mask off, and it's like, who's ripping ass? Like everyone is here. Yeah. So you can cut that out if you want.
It's part of life.
Stuff.
Yeah. What's the pressure, right? Because you got more pressure inside of you than outside of you. And,
but yeah, so it takes
off gas.
so you fly from Kathmandu to Lukla, which is the shortest and highest airport. It's just this little strip in the Himalayas. And you just, if you land, great. If you don't, it's game over. Yeah. And then from there, it's 38 miles on foot to get to base camp. So base camp's at 17,500 feet. And just amazing because you're immersed with Sherpa, just amazing people.
What's the time frame it takes to do that 38 miles?
10 days, maybe.
Yeah, because you're moving slow. There's a lot of equipment.
Yeah, exactly.
And enjoying it too, right?
You're trying.
Rush through it, right?
Yeah, so it's
beautiful. Himalayas are, I always tell people, like, my time in Himalayas, like, you can't even explain it. You can't take a picture or look at a postcard and grasp it. You can only experience it by being there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Even when we flew in from Bangkok to Kathmandu, Everest was eye level as the aircraft, and they announce it. You look over, you're like, oh my gosh.
I'm going up there. Yeah.
Right? Probably the only person on this plane.
For those watching, if you're listening and not watching, you got to come on here and watch. Like, every guest on the Resilient Show gets a custom background on our screen here, and we have the map of which area is this, Brian?
It's the Khumbu region. So you have some of the highest mountains in the world around here. This is the actual map that I used during my trek. I don't know how you got a hold of it.
We knew. I was a recon Marine.
Yeah, that's right. Thought someone was in my house.
Yeah. So it's I thought it was actually the team picked it. It's pretty cool.
That is cool.
So
very unique. So yeah, it takes anywhere from 10 to 14 days to get in because you are acclimating. And you really start feeling it in the villages that you're staying in just get worse and worse. It's just, I don't know. I turned into a vegetarian while I was there just because I was so worried about getting sick by eating just the handling of food and just everything else that could go wrong. So I would I'd eat like cheese pizzas and stuff, which wasn't pizza that we know. It's like the Sherpa are making some like weird thing and with Spam on it. That would be the only meat I'd eat. And
yeah. You were safe. Yeah.
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 Yeah. But you're right. It's amazing because I was focused on climbing Everest. I wasn't really thinking about the journey of just being immersed in the highest peaks in the world and just through this Khumbu Valley.
The culture, the food, the people. Mm-hmm. Like I've lived up in Himalaya, Hindu Kush, Karakoram areas, and it's just a very unique way of living. And the people there are just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. We're having chicken tonight, and you see the wife run by and grab the chicken. Kills it right there. We'll eat in an hour or 2 hours.
Were there a lot of ceremonial things, like, because they know you guys are coming through, right? There's a regular group of people coming to climb Everest, and they have like almost like ceremonial type events.
Yeah, where they're giving you like the silk scarves, like the white silk scarves, everything. A lot of Buddhism there. Mm-hmm. I'm not Buddhist, but that's their thing, and I respect that. I'd praying to Jesus the entire way, like just grateful for the opportunity to just be here, have the capability and just this experience and take it in as you can go. But yeah, like the puja ceremony, the Lama, giving me another scarf. I had like, 5 scarves by the time I was done. Like everyone, you're going to, Goddess of Earth and give you a scarf. But yeah, the puja ceremony is really interesting, because they're out there chanting and throwing flour in your face and asking for asking for approval to climb the mountain. And that's when I was super sick.
Just like a stomach bug, or
no? This was like when I had the AMS, like altitude mountain sickness, from getting sick from the Lama. So it hit me. So that was like my first night in base camp. So
this is on your way to Everest. Mm-hmm. You're already dealing with altitude sickness.
Yeah.
Which is a testament to resiliency, because most people, if you get hit with altitude sickness, like your trip's over, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people are like, I'm not going any further.
Yep. Yeah. And I actually, when I got down, so the next day, hiked 5 miles totally by myself, like it's one of the most amazing experiences I've had, just from a faith perspective, because with every step, my head was feeling better, but I just had like Mercy Me and like my faith-based mix, my little iPod.
Yeah.
my 2011 iPod.
I was gonna say when you kind of dating yourself when you say iPod.
Yep, just cranked and just amazing. Just like looking around, no one probably a mile, anywhere near me.
Not another human.
Yeah. So then I got to a village and they told me garlic soup was the way to go. Like, bring it. So I just pounded that. And then everyone else went to climb Island Peak, a 20,000 foot peak to acclimate on. I told them I'd meet them the next day, just solo up there. And yeah, within a day I rallied and I was on top of that mountain and heading back. And that was the only sickness or, hard feeling that I had up until my story.
Yeah, I'm super proud that Smith & Wesson Firearms is a supporter of this show. I have been shooting Smith & Wesson Firearms since I was a kid. This is one of America's most patriotic companies that has been around 170 years. The Resilient Show is honored to partner with Smith & Wesson. I personally use Smith & Wesson Firearms every day for my everyday carry. I keep Smith & Wesson Firearms in my home for my home defense. When I'm out on the range practicing, it is a Smith & Wesson at the end of my grip. So check them out, and I hope you join me in carrying one of America's most iconic firearms. So the peak, the 20,000 foot peaks, just to acclimate, get your body. You come back down.
It's a little safer than going up and down through the ice fall, which we'll talk about. But yeah, so we hit like Kalapatar and Island Peak. So just to acclimate.
How many people are with you? Like how many Westerners?
There was maybe 4 that were just doing the trek.
Okay.
There was one other guy who was going for the summit.
Okay. So just 2 of you doing this, going for the summit.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
but
then,
we were independent, so we didn't have a big team.
And then a lot of Sherpas, right? Like
didn't have a lot of Sherpa. Oh. We had some porters that'll help, like just bring stuff in. They have yaks and all that stuff. Go into base camp.
Yaks are so cool. They have,
with the bells and everything.
And the
So
beads,
peaceful.
the beads are in there. At least the ones I've seen, the beads braided in their hair.
Yeah, that's right.
I actually rode a group of yaks across the Paso Glacier. And,
wow. That's
because
amazing.
I didn't know this before that moment, but cows and horses will step on snow-covered crevasses, but yaks won't. Yaks know. So they actually was stringing
Yeah, I didn't know that.
stringing cows between the yaks.
Learned so much on this show.
Yeah. Yeah. So we actually rode a yak across the glacier.
Because they have zoos up there, which are like a mixed breed, and they're lower in the mountain, and then it transitions to yaks up higher.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's so peaceful though when you see like the herders come through and ding ding, the
so
yaks
cool,
coming through.
Yeah.
That's
Super
amazing.
cool.
I remember I was on like a cell phone call with Joanna. Is it weird if I'm pointing back because she's like behind me with my wife Joanna, and I'm like, she's like, "What's that noise?" I'm like, "Oh, that's a bunch of yak coming through." It was just like kind of a magical moment.
Yeah. They're cool. So take us from there to, I mean, I don't want to skip anything. So what's the next part of this journey?
Well, yeah, let's get right into it.
Yeah.
Because there's enough to talk about with my summit. To acclimate, to survive, you have to climb high, sleep low. Okay. So that's the whole point of acclimating. It forces your body into oxygen deprived areas, which then forces your body to create more red blood cells, which carry oxygen. So you go up, you go back down, you rest, and then you can go up higher the next time. So when you're climbing Everest, you're basically climbing the mountain like 5 times. So you're just up and down, up and down. So it's a big game of patience. For
just preparing your body physiologically.
Yeah, because you can't survive. So once you get up to the death zone, so 23,000 is as high as you acclimate to. Once you get up to 26 and beyond, if you cut your finger, it won't heal. There's not enough air up there. You can't, you're dying. I mean, we're all dying, but you're dying at a more rapid pace. And you can't stay up there very long. So the predictability of weather has gotten so much better. So now you can be at base camp and, triangulate weather and say, okay, there's a 5-day weather window coming. And that's how long it takes to get up to base or up to high camp to then be in a position to summit.
So once you get into high camp, you could stay there. You need that window to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you can't stay up there too long.
Okay.
Because you're dying. But that's where you really start using supplemental oxygen as well. So it's not scuba 100%, because if you came off that, you would die. Right. So it's mixed with the outside air like World War II pilots. Mm-hmm. But the first major obstacle, let's start at base camp. First major obstacle is the Khumbu icefall. So it's a couple miles of a river of just falling seracs, which are building-sized blocks of ice. And it is a maze. You go through there very slowly. You always climb like in the night or early morning, because once the sun comes out, things become very unstable. There's fixed lines. So there's ropes that Sherpa guides, myself, we anchor to like pickets and ice screws. Once the sun comes out, those are conductors of heat. They can melt out, come loose. So it's just safer to climb with a headlamp through the night and then get to wherever you're at, and then maybe descend early. If you're just touching a camp and coming back, a lot of times we just sleep at the camp and then come back the next day. But this is where you see a lot of the ladders. So these cheap aluminum ladders, 4 or 5 ladders tied together, going across these just bottomless crevasses. I don't know if on your journey, if you went across any ladders or used crampons.
No, I used crampons, but I never did a ladder. No.
Okay.
I know I've seen what you're talking about. And,
Yeah. You get pretty good at it.
Yeah.
At first, there's nothing glamorous about mountaineering from any perspective, because it's miserable, but it's a big goal, and we're all unique individuals. I always, when I give my talks, I'll give some statistics. I'll just do it here. There's, how many people are on this earth? 8 or 9 billion?
8 billion.
8 billion.
Yeah.
There's been over 100 billion to have ever existed. A few thousand have climbed Everest. Mm-hmm. So we are unique, and I get it that most people won't understand that. So I'm never going to try to like make someone who doesn't climb try to understand that. But going across these ladders, you have your crampons, you have those fixed lines that you're attached to. So I don't have to be attached to another climber. That's why I can be alone. But just slowly going across, I went across one, it was 4 ladders tied together. I was completely by myself. Can't even see the bottom of the crevasse. The anchor ripped off. So I was connected to a rope, comes off. So I'm teetering on this thing completely alone. I just laid down on it and crawled across.
Oh yeah.
It's like survival. I mean, every step is survival. So you get above that, across, I don't even know how many ladders, so many different sections. And the route changes every time. I went through 8 times by the time I was all said and done. So every time you're ice climbing, rappelling down the other side.
Why'd you do the route 8 times?
To acclimate.
Okay.
So you go up, touch camp 1, come back down. Go up, sleep at camp 1, go up to advanced base camp at camp 2, come back down. Go up to camp 3, back down, summit, back down. So camp 1 is at 19,000 feet. And I was actually up there solo on Easter Sunday of 2011. And it was something I'll never forget. I'm up there taking, pictures, sponsored pictures and stuff. And I had a card that I'd been holding on to from Joanna and the kids. And at 19,000 feet, to be emotional is not easy. Your head's already like compressed, and I was like sad but happy, and just it's just one of those things. So I had to, just go to my tent. I had a little mini laptop, and I watched The Empire Strikes Back. So that got me through that.
Yeah,
that was an amazing moment. Just kind of just being up there, April, and just to think of Jesus dying for our sins, and I'm up here doing the silly thing and, missing my family. But it's in those moments that that's what makes the difference of, do you push through? Because it's so easy to think about all those other things and be like, I want to go home and be with my family.
Yeah.
Why am I here? And, you have to push those things aside to achieve, greatness, whatever that looks like for each individual. So out of camp 1, 19,000 feet, you go through the western Khumbu. Khumbu is a valley. And you're actually off rope a lot of times. For the most part, there's fixed lines from base camp to the summit, and they change them every year. There's sections in the western Khumbu where you're off rope. There's this one section, though, it's a 5 ladder, and you step on that thing and it drops like...
We say 5 ladder, like 5 ladders long.
Yeah, it's tied together.
Yeah.
5 ladders. And you cannot see the bottom. In fact, when I was there in 2011, 2 guys that had fallen off in this crevasse actually churned up in base camp. So they were down at the bottom of the Khumbu Glacier. They actually found them while we were there. So blessing for their family, get that closure and everything. But that's just how glaciers work. They're just, slow churning. So you definitely don't want to fall off that one or any of them. Get past that, get up to advanced base camp at 21,000 feet. And advanced base camp is, where you have another like cooking tent and a Sherpa that that's as far as he's going. And it's hard at 21,000 feet, even putting the poles together for a tent. It's a lot of work. It's like, this is crazy. Because that's the highest I had been at that point. And then from there, you go up Lhotse face. Lhotse is the 4th highest mountain in the world. You actually climb up Lhotse to get to the highest camp in the world, which is the South Col. So this is a straight up ice, like bulletproof ice and snow and rock.
You're climbing ice, like ice axis?
I did have an axe. Because you have the fixed lines, you have a sender, like a Jumar.
Yeah.
Has the backwards teeth on it. You pull that up. You have multiple points of locking carabiners in that rope. So if you fall, you only hopefully fall to the next anchor point and not for over a mile. And this is where at 23,000 feet, you have the tents that are anchored into the side of the wall. So you're always connected. If you fall and people have fallen, you're not going to stop.
How many people were with you at this part of the climb?
Most of the time I was by myself. Like my Sherpa.
Why are you by yourself? Like what's?
I don't know. I'm used to climbing alone.
Yeah.
Even my job in the military, my job was alone. You jump from that helicopter, you're on your own. It's 1-to-1 or 1-to-many. So I think I've just, even growing up, I had so much alone time. I think I'm comfortable with that. And you can kind of be at your own pace. Like you can still work with other people, other climbers around, but you're not slowing anyone down or you're not pushing them, into a dangerous scenario.
Were you in communications with your Sherpa or your team? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, you always had a radio. And Pasong was with me sometimes, but he'd go back down, young guy.
This your Sherpa, right?
Yeah, Sherpa friend.
What's his name again?
Pasong.
Yeah,
great guy. Had a couple summits already. He would go back down and, he was guiding other people like on the trek and stuff.
Yeah, you're going up at a pace. He goes down, catches back up.
Yeah, he's a strong dude.
Probably wearing dress shoes.
I know, down lower. It's
some of those guys
nuts.
Up there in penny loafers climbing the side of mountains. You're like,
yeah, they're wearing like jeans and stuff. So yeah, when you're done with climbs on a lot of these places, you just give all your gear. Just donate it. But yeah, so I'm up at Camp 3, and that's when you start using supplemental oxygen. A friend that was in a tent with me, his regulator wasn't working, so I gave him mine, and I just stayed off oxygen. And then we went all the way back down, and this was a month into our journey, and waited for a 5-day weather window. So once we had that, it was like probably May 10th. We started up, and we started up together. And then he wasn't feeling so well, so I started getting ahead. So then we distanced each other. I was a day ahead of him. Pasong was going to meet me up at Camp 3. So he was down, doing whatever down at Camp 2. So I was up there by myself, putting our tent together and, cutting out a shelf, anchoring it down, everything else. And the next morning we were going to get to high camp and then go for the summit that night. So this would have been May 14th, 2011. We're heading just straight up this ice wall, and we had 70-mile-an-hour winds. So Everest sits in the jet stream, at almost 30,000 feet. So there's only a couple of days you can summit each year. So you're working down below that jet stream to be acclimated so that you can survive up higher. We moved up, and I got about 1,000 feet from from Camp 3, and I needed to get some water. So we're in these 70-mile-an-hour winds. I anchor off to this picket that's, drilled into or hit into the side of the mountain. I have a system. So I have my mask and I have my goggles. My goggles are over my mask. I take the goggles off, put it around my arm. I'm taking my mask off. My foot slips out. And even though I was anchored, a natural reaction was to grab the rope. When I did that, my goggles slid off my wrist and they're going down. They're just tumbling down. And about 500 feet below me, some Sherpa, I'm looking like straight down. They're waving at me. I'm waving back. And they're like pointing. They got my goggles. They tied them off to the rope. And I didn't have extra. I had sunglasses, but with the mask, the oxygen mask and the strap, you can't really use
Well, I mean, you can't have skin exposed at all for.
Yeah, in certain areas.
I mean, at 70-mile-an-hour wind at that temperature. Well,
Yeah, you definitely get like wind nip and stuff. So yeah, I left everything, anchored it to where I was, rappelled down, got to my goggles. When I reached them, I looked, at them, and they were cracked through the internal lens. So goggles will fog anyways in the cold because of the contrast of your warm breath and the cold outside. Mine were freezing between layers. So I ended up ripping that internal lens out, not realizing that probably cut their effectiveness in half. Mm-hmm. So I put my gear on, or put my goggles on, climb back up, grab my gear, and continue up. So that day, because of the high wind, a couple guys did summit. A famous Japanese climber passed away on the south summit. Everyone else came back down. They retreated. They were coming down, like passing. So we continued up. Pasang was already at high camp. He continued up. Around early afternoon, I show up to the death zone, 26,000 feet, and searched around. A lot of the tents were collapsed. So you collapse them so the wind doesn't shred them. Found them, and we just kind of sat back and relaxed in the death zone as much as you can. Try to get some sleep, but you can't. Called for the weather, making sure we were still good to go. It was going to be clear. And even at that point, completely clear, no wind whatsoever. So that's just kind of how Everest rolls. The next day, it would be clear until, early or in the morning, like maybe 8 o'clock or so, and 50-mile-an-hour gusts were going to hit. So that's a good weather window. You get up through the night, get to the top, head back down. So once the sun set, we got our crampons on, got all our gear, and we started heading up. And it's a pretty surreal experience. You got your headlamp, one step in front of the other, no sense of time because you're just slowly moving. I was inching away from Pasang.
It's nighttime. Mm-hmm. It's clear. Mm-hmm. So you have a lot of ambient starlight. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, especially being up there. There's no light pollution. It's amazing. It was cold. I don't know how cold it was. I know with wind later, it would have been maybe negative 50.
Yeah.
But yeah, just slowly moving. But yeah, it is. It's tough because are you looking around? Not so much. It's because it's not like it's a walk in the park. You're going straight up. So it's coming in and out of anchor points. I got about an hour ahead of Pasang. So I waited at an area called the balcony. So at 27,500 feet, waited for an hour. And this is when I was taking in just the starlights. There was actually an electrical storm way in the distance, way below me.
Yeah.
Because I'm at 27,500 feet. It's like, it was real. I took some video, trying to get that footage, but nothing is like being there.
Yeah.
Pasang eventually shows up and he's like not feeling good. So at that moment, I'm like, okay, then we need to head back down. And he's like, no, I ran out of water. So I gave him some water and he throws up. I'm like, dude, seriously, like he's like, no, we're good. Let's continue moving. So in mountaineering, military, everything, you live and die by the decisions you make, but you have the information you have, within a 3-foot reach at that time. So we continued up and didn't make it much further. We got to this area. It's a rock climb. And at that point, at 28,000 feet is when he tapped out and said, yeah, I'm going to go back to the balcony and wait for you. So at that point, real decision to make. So I'm weighing it out. How am I doing? I'm fine. I felt strong. How's the weather? Weather was great at that moment. Most importantly, could Pasang get down? He assured me he could. He's like, no, I'm going to leave an oxygen bottle, a spare oxygen here, put it in the snow, and he turned around and just started heading down.
That oxygen bottle was like for you?
Yeah, because going up, going down, probably need 2.
Yeah.
And I would run out on the way back down.
Okay.
So I'm like, he turned around and started heading down. He ended up going all the way to high camp, which is fine. That's what he needed to do. I didn't know that at the time because he was going to wait at the balcony. So I continue up. And at 28,000 feet, rock climbing it's pretty legit. Like you have the Jumar going up, but you have like one point of a crampon trying to find a crack and then lifting yourself up, all your body weight, and made it to the top of that. And I look out to my left, and this is one of the most just awesome. I'll share the video with you guys. Just situations. So you had the sun rising from the highest point in the world, casting this perfect pyramid shadow down over the highest mountains in the world, the Himalayas. And, you know, you've done stuff through the night. You know, when the sun rises, that's hope. Yeah. That's life. You have no indication of time otherwise. It's not like you're checking your watch, and I have a full down suit and all this gear anyways. You can't see anything. But it's that moment of hope. Like, the sun is rising. I know I'm close to the top. I didn't know at the time. I was the only person climbing for the summit of Everest. And checking later in the Himalayan database, I'm one of 2 people to have ever had it to myself on a given day. And I didn't know that, didn't intend to do that. So continue up, get to the south summit, and you drop down. And at this section, it's called the Cornice Traverse, even though the Cornice continues up to the actual summit. But it's about 2 feet wide, and it is a 2-mile drop, literal 2-mile drop on your left into Nepal, and a 2-mile drop to your right into Tibet. So you have options.
Yeah.
So you just continue going. Winds were starting.
You're on this 2-foot ledge, or you roped in.
Oh yeah. The whole time I'm roped. I wouldn't have continued up myself if there wasn't fixed lines.
Right.
Yeah. But
the wind's
I knew
still
Joanna
whipping,
would be
right?
pissed if I did that.
The wind's whipping up there.
Yeah. You're as exposed as you possibly can be. So yeah. And then get across that. The last major obstacle really is Hillary Step. So it's a 40-foot rock climb. You've probably seen pictures on the news of crowds on Everest. There's only one way up, one way down on the north side and south side. I was the only one there. So I just bounced up that, got to the top, went across that last cornice. Even though I can see the prayer flags and the actual summit, I know it's going to take, maybe close to an hour to get there. It's so slow moving. But I was also in my head that whole time of just elated and just it's so hard to process something so amazing in that moment. I mean, it's 14 years later and I'm still thinking about that moment. But eventually my crampons pierce the summit and I'm at the top, and it was a lot.
Yeah.
Just thinking about everything.
Did you stay there for a minute and take in the 360 view?
Yeah, I tried. Actually, no, I didn't. I actually had to go to the bathroom. I took a dump.
Right there on Everest? It's still there. It's frozen solid.
The wind was, it's hard. It's hard. This is.
Did it blow off? Did it go into Nepal or?
Yeah.
I wonder who got it.
Let's spend some time here. The listeners need to know. And Joanna's probably, again, so proud of me. No, when you got to go, you got to go. So with a down suit, you have like the back zipper stuff.
Yeah.
And that thing was freezing. So I'm like trying not to freeze my cheeks off. Like I don't want to lose digits or any butt cheeks up there. But it's freezing by the time it like hits. And then the wind is hitting. So when you wipe, the wind catches it. So, I pretty much crapped in Nepal and wiped in Tibet. So I don't know if that's a record or anything, but
it's definitely noteworthy.
But I own that. When you got to go,
It's got to be in the movie. I'll be highly disappointed if they cut that out.
Me too. And they're thinking about cutting it out of my book because I had like 3 pages. I was proud of that moment. But it's important because it increased my exposure on the top of the world. Yeah. So you can't spend a lot of time up there. But
because that is the top of the world.
That is the top. And at that moment, it's so weird being alone. Mm-hmm. Like you want to celebrate with someone. And I didn't even have a sat phone. Usually I have a sat phone. I'll call Joanna from the summits. And my sat phone never came. It was never delivered. So this was my first. So that was a bummer.
Get a selfie?
Yeah, I got the highest selfie in the world. Yeah. And I did like a 360 surround. My little mini video camera had already froze. I got the footage from the sunrise, that shadow, and then it froze. But did that. I made a radio call and, I was all choked up and just had to like get my composure and just said, "This is Brian checking in from the summit of Everest." and everyone's monitoring the frequency, just excited, congratulations. My friend who is at Camp 3 gets on and he's like, oh, that's so awesome. He's like, well, you and Pasong, be careful on your way down. And it's at that moment I realized no one knew I was alone. So I'm like, that's cool. But Pasong went down over an hour ago. He's like, you're alone? I'm like, yeah. He's like, all right, well, be careful. And great advice. At that point, I put my radio back and I remember I accidentally spun the frequency dial, which I like, whatever, I'll just tune it back in later if I need to call. And
which would be crucial later.
Yes and no. I don't know if I would have either, but at that point he turned to Lakpa, who had 5 summits. I'd been climbing with him, Lakpa Sherpa, for the last month. And he's like, how long is it going to take Brian to get to high camp? He's like, Brian, it'll take him like 2, maybe 3 hours. And no one would hear from me for 7.
Before you get stepped down, because I mean, obviously we want to go there. Is there any like a celebratory traditions at the summit for
me?
For anyone, for everyone? Is there like a celebratory tradition that all summiters do on Everest?
I don't think so. I think there's, if
you should have started one. I think you started one. I think everybody.
Drop a deuce?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you're Buddhist, I know there's been some ashes that have been, put up there, and I think it's unique for every individual. People will put pictures up there. Yeah. For me, honestly, in the past, it's been calling Joanna. Like that's just such a special thing, I'm here. Yeah. And so that was unfortunate. So yeah, you can't spend much time up there. It's this stage that we're on is, 3 times as big as the summit of Everest. Like there's just not much up there. And yeah, you can spend, months trying to get there, and then you got to head down.
Yeah. And months trying to get there, and most people don't make it. Right?
Yeah.
So
in one way
can go right or
another.
You can do everything right, and then the conditions don't allow it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You train for the things outside of your control, but there's always things within your control, and there's always things outside of your control, and you have to be able to respond to those.
So most people don't make it. Of those who try, how many bodies are up there? Because they can't recover a body. Yeah,
it's really, really hard to recover. I mean, you're recovering your own body. I mean, everything is survival up there. People that are so far away from it they just have no idea.
If you die right next to your friend, he's like, it would kill him to try to take you down.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and they've had some recoveries, but it's like, and even when I was there, they were pulling. I think there was 5 deaths while I was there. I woke up, unzipped my tent, and they brought a person who had died in the Khumbu icefall, and they have them wrapped up. But getting down from up high it's almost impossible.
How many bodies you had said earlier?
There's 300 plus.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, it's growing, which is unfortunate, but there's definitely other mountains that have more deaths, and you never know the situation. My rule is if I'm not there, I'm not going to comment, because I have been there, and in different scenarios, I have been in these scenarios, and I know what was going on in those times. And I know there's a lot that most people never realize. So it's not for me to be brave behind a keyboard.
Yeah. So you're starting your 2 to 3 hour descent.
Yes.
Which ends up being 7.
Yeah. I decided to take my time. Yeah.
What happens?
It wasn't, you can't spend much time up there, and I got a drink, I got a snack, and took some last picks, and I started heading down, and maybe 10, 15 feet into it, everything just went completely white, and I went snowblind. And snow blindness is the sunburning of the cornea from my goggle malfunction to being exposed at that altitude, having blue eyes, more susceptible. When the sun banked off the ice, fried my cornea. Usually it takes 24 hours to return. I wouldn't regain my eyesight for about a month and a half. And I remember in that moment, just realizing what was going on. I dropped down, grabbed the rope that I was attached to, the fixed line, and assessed the situation. I'm at the highest point in the world. I'm completely alone, and I'm blind. Nobody's coming to get me. And without panicking or overthinking it, I got up, and I started moving. And with snow blindness, it's not blind like black. It's bright white.
Can you see anything, shapes, anything?
No, you can see maybe colors. Like I could tell like the difference. There's a rock there versus snow, but it's so bright up there. It's like if you have a light bulb an inch from your face, you stare at it, you can't see anything. Move your finger, something just moved. You'll notice that, but you cannot focus. It feels like, I would say potato chips in your eyelids, like broken up, because your eyes flutter a lot. Like it's super painful. But yeah, I started moving, and I'm not normally blind. Like I was trying so hard to use my eyes. I grabbed the rope because I didn't want to get too close to the anchor points, because if your full body weight's on the other side, it's like doing a 300-400 pound pull up, trying to like get your body back up. So I'd clip in to the other side using sound. I could hear the carabiners. I could also hear the 50-mile-an-hour gusts coming up over the ridge. And I would just hunker down. It'd blow over me. I'd get up, take a step. And this entire time, I never, ever felt alone.
Did you instantly turn to God in that moment?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't at all. I was doing it Brian's way on my own. And that's a part of this journey, is getting out of our own way. I never felt alone. I felt this presence. Like if you close your eyes right now, I don't say anything, I'm here.
Right.
I didn't overthink it. I just kept moving forward. I got to the top of Hillary Step, 40-foot rock climb, reversed my gear, tried to rappel down with the crampons on rock, slipped out, pendulumed, hit the rock, and slid down. And I'm on this ice shelf and just kind of assessing, am I broken? Like, I think I'm good. So I get up and my mouth is so dry and just still, it's like someone's like sitting next to me. It's like this presence. And I didn't talk to whatever that was, didn't acknowledge. It was just peaceful. Just had this peaceful presence. Got some water, which takes a long time because of the system. And my next major obstacle was that Cornice Traverse, 2-mile drop on each side.
That's that 2-foot wide path.
So I'm holding this rope super tight, and I could hear the wind gust come. And I would just hunker down, and my center of mass would be very small. It'd blow over. The last thing I'd want to do was not have crampons on ice, because if you're slick on your suit, you're slick falling over for 2 miles. And people have fallen over right there. They've broken through. Made it to the south summit, which is now a climb. You have to climb back up, which is great because when you fall against the mountain instead of like down a mountain. When I got to the top of that, I took another step out, and I just slipped out, lost a crampon. I'm tumbling. To this day, it's the scariest thing I've been through. It's like, go to your roof, close your eyes, jump off. It's just helpless. The rope shock loaded, and it saved my life. I would have went.
Shock load, like you fall against the
anchor
rope
point.
Saved you. Yeah.
Yeah. The shock loaded on the anchor point. It held. I'm upside down. My heart is racing through my chest. Like, I don't know how close I was to having a heart attack at that point with the thin air, everything else. My mask is ripped from my face. My oxygen bottle is coming out of my pack. I'm doing everything I can to right myself. And at that point, calm myself down, in my training, that was everything. Panic kills. And learn to stay calm in that chaotic situation, focus on your breathing. So it's coming back to that. I look up and, I'm searching. There's this like dark object, which was my crampon that I had lost. I mean, it's a miracle. I don't think I could have got down otherwise. And I remember just kind of like trying to climb up and sliding back and just getting up to that, grabbing it and just being so grateful. And I put it on my boot, torque it down, torque the other one down, side traverse over to that rock area, the rock climbing area. And, it's like this slab avalanche kicks off. That's where a heavier layer of snow, it's very common, will break loose on a less heavy area of snow. Just kicked off immediately. I grabbed the line, and it burnt a line. The rope burned a line right through my leather glove. That's how fast I accelerated in just a millisecond. But I stopped myself. But in that moment, everything, my body is just going through that, it's trying to panic. And I'm doing everything I can to just stay calm.
Even though you were staying calm and not panicking, was there ever a point that you're like, I'm going to die, I'm not going to make it?
I knew I wasn't going to die. I knew I was going to die.
Yeah.
I never let that, as soon as you start thinking that, you're already dead.
Yeah.
And I did everything I could to suppress it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no one survives.
But that thought was there, like, chances are this is it for me.
I had to find a reason to take one more step forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was there. And that's one of those things you have to press down.
Because just to be there, you're very educated on what the mountain is, all the threats, the statistics.
Yeah.
Like, so, I mean, in your mind, you got to be thinking like, this is it. This is how people die here.
Yeah. And even just a glimpse of that thought, I could feel what it did to my body.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no. And I would think, Emily, Jordan, Joanna, step. Emily, Jordan, Joanna, step. It's my kids, my wife. Just find a reason to survive. I got to the base of the rock wall, and I almost walked right past it, but it was this bright orange orb, and it's the oxygen bottle that Pasong had left. And I remember like laying down next to it, fumbling with my regulator, and it wouldn't work. I don't know why I didn't have all day to troubleshoot. I still had some air in mine, so I put mine back together. And I also don't know why I put that extra 15 pounds in my pack. I wasn't looking for a workout, but it's like your mind is so like focused.
You kept it. You kept the bottle.
Yeah. So now I had an extra 15, and I'm cruising down, and I remember getting frustrated. There was a point where I actually yelled, I'm like, I'm not going to die on this mountain. And I remember that point of frustration, probably could have killed me, because that just triggered every panic, state that could happen. And I had to quickly bring that back. I'm like, that is not
not just emotionally, but physiologically, right? Like
more physiologically.
Yeah. Like your body goes into a different, like heightened state.
Yeah. You're breathing
energy and oxygen. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Your heart rate, everything. So I got to the balcony at 27,500 feet. It's where Pasong was going to be. I remember calling out to him. He wasn't around, so I assumed he must have went down, and that was totally fine. And at that point, I felt actually good, like I was happy, which is weird. But I'd gotten through some very technical sections. The rest was like 20 pitches of rappel. I'm like, I can do this. And I start heading down, and maybe 20 feet into it, my mask just starts sucking into my face. And I remember ripping it off and just dropping to my knees, and I ran out of oxygen. And if you're in the death zone and you're using oxygen, if you come off, you're not going to live. And at that moment, I said a simple prayer, like, God, I can't do this alone.
That was your first time praying in it.
Yeah. God, I cannot do this alone. Please help. At that very moment, around the world, Joanna was woken. She knew I was going for the summit. She had no idea what I was going through. Just felt an urge. I need to pray for Brian. My best friend, same. Even people I didn't even know. Like, I was in the media. They knew I was climbing. So people reached out later. I don't know what you're doing at this moment, but I needed to pray for you. So I'm on the mountain. It had been 33 hours from the day prior to this point that I'd been climbing. Out of oxygen, completely blind. I say that simple prayer, I can't do this alone. Please help. And I witnessed a miracle. I've never felt anything like this. It's like someone reached down, grabbed me by the back of my down suit and lifted me up. And I had this energy. And the first thing I did is tried that extra oxygen bottle that had previously failed, and I got a positive flow. And I remember taking like 5 deep breaths, and it was physically painful. I could feel the air re-enter my body, and it was like fire. Never experienced anything like that. I didn't overthink the moment. I put my gear back together, and I just start rappelling down, and eventually made it to that last quarter mile into high camp. And at that point, I didn't know if I died or not. I'm looking around. I can't see anything. And then out of nowhere, Pasong, he just hugs me. I never saw him coming. He's like, Brian, you alive? And he's like, I'm so sorry I leave you. And I'm like, don't worry about it, dude. You know, I'd lost 20 pounds. I had black eyes. I'm just stumbling. We get back into camp. But it's in that moment, I knew that I was going to make it. And I got to the tent and I collapsed, you know, took a couple pictures. It's pretty disturbing looking. Threw my camera to Pasong. You know, he's looking at the summit pics and stuff. And I was out for like 15 hours. My eyes were glued shut, but I was alive.
You stayed at high camp for 15 hours there?
Yeah. Yeah, there's no way I could have continued down. So the next day, I still had to get down. Yeah, I had to get down, Lhotse face. I almost stepped right into a hidden crevasse. Someone grabbed me. So I'm just like, in fact, I have a picture where I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Like some guy took it of me. But yeah, it was just very powerful. My friend had taken the picture of Pasong meeting me that quarter mile out. And I didn't see that I didn't regain my eyesight for a month and a half. So
I mean, you even have to, we're talking about the summit right now, but you even have to make it to 38 miles.
Yeah.
I mean,
I had to get down through the ice fall and through over the ladders and all that. But, you know, you can crawl through that stuff.
all that blind. How many days did it take you to get back? Or weeks?
Back to Seattle.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess back to civilization.
So the next day I got down to advanced base camp where I had a French-Canadian friend who was making her summit attempt dial Joanna. So it's the first time I got to talk to her. And I'm all weepy and everything. Just, you know, now everything that I had suppressed is now out and I'm alive and still can't see. And she's like all excited. I'm like, you know, you have a delay on sat phones. I'm like, hold on. I soloed the summit and I'm blind. And then it cut out. And I wouldn't be able to talk to her for the neck till 24 hours later till I got to base camp. So I own the worst phone call to spouse in history. Like don't try to get that one.
Yeah.
So the next day through the night, actually early morning, went through the Khumbu icefall, crawling across ladders, got to base camp where some Sherpa made a summit cake for me, which was super sweet. And then later that day started heading out, and it's not like a paved path, you know, it's rocks and yak poop and like going across suspension bridges and everything. So it was a journey getting out. But I had people with me, so that was helpful.
At what point do you get medical attention?
Oh man, I know. Cause I had to fly to Bangkok and still can't see, fumbling around there by myself, bumping into people. I didn't know where to get it. They have some medical at base camp. Yeah. But what are they going to do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I had someone tell me to put some sort of cream in my eyes. And I'm like, no, I think I'll be good.
Wait.
I saw what he told me to put in like months later. And it's like, do not put it in or near eyes. like permanently blind. So, you know, it's tough. When I got back home in the Pacific Northwest, then I went and the doctor's like, oh yeah, it'll come back. But it definitely accelerated, you know, my vision. I had LASIK and stuff. And so it's never been the same, but at least I can see.
Yeah. So, wow. That's I'm right there with you. I'm just hearing your story, reading your book. It's a God orchestrated miracle that you're sitting here with us today, and thankful for it, and thankful you're able to share it with so many people. It's just a testament to what God can do. In the worst of circumstances, when we're kind of coming to our own end and can't do anything else ourselves, no matter how much training you had, right? You had to lean on Him and the intercessory prayer of Joanna and other people praying for you in that mountain. It's incredible. I guess, you know, the Resilience Show always asks people, you know, these pillars of resiliency, you know, mind, body, social, spirit, being, you know, having mental toughness, physical toughness. Those things are pretty clear, right? Socially, like who you surround yourself with, and while you're alone in that mountain, you have people on the other side of the world praying for you. But that spiritual pillar in your faith,
Yeah.
You know, what lessons do you have for the listeners? through this experience.
Yeah, it's tough because everyone loves a survival story. They could care less about the survivor.
Yeah.
So I'm back and you got Fox News and I'm on stage and like, I'm still blind and I'm haven't even begun to deal with the trauma that I'd went through and the survivor's guilt of why is there 300 bodies up there and I'm alive. But over time, I've spent 14 years. For me, it really came down to faith and focus. And that focus piece is ironic because I couldn't see a thing. Mm-hmm. I knew I was going to die. I never let that get into my mind. I had to find a reason to survive. I had to find a reason to take one more step forward and then one more. And faith. I tried so hard to do it on my own. I think Jesus is just cruising alongside. Like, I'm just waiting. Reach out for me, dummy.
Yeah.
And eventually I reached a point I couldn't do it on my own. And as soon as I said that simple prayer around the world, it's a lot. But I witnessed a miracle. I think my advice is get out of your own way. Stop trying to do it on your own.
Yeah. Outstanding. People can hear the rest of the story through reading your books. You want to tell us a little bit about what the two books you have here, Blind Descent and Calm the Chaos?
Yeah. When I got back, everyone wanted a movie for Blind Descent. Yeah. I was not in a healthy place dealing with just the survivor's guilt and just being a survivor in general, dealing with all of that, because it also unlocked a lot of what I had compartmentalized from the military and all the trauma I dealt with that and, even childhood. So I said, I'll write a book. So I wrote a book, Blind Descent, which details that and some of my training in the military. And now I'm in a healthier place and we are looking at a full motion picture. And then Calm the Chaos. Everyone always asks, how didn't you panic up there? And over years, when I give, keynote talks, I'm like, you know what? Maybe there's something interesting here. Yeah. There's never been a book on aviation rescue swimmers. I didn't want a book about myself. But a lot of my why didn't I panic is because my whole job in the military was to never panic. That's why there's such a high attrition rate. If you stay calm in that chaos, you can actually, not put yourself and others at risk. You can actually affect a rescue and save lives. But the book's not about me. I interviewed over 30 different individuals, rescue swimmers from all time, Apollo 13 recovery to Vietnam, HAL 3 door gunners to some of my own stuff in there. And then just some of these just incredible rescues, people that are way cooler than me. So that was a fun book, but you can only put so many things, so many stories in a book. Sure. So that's why I have the Calm the Chaos podcast as well. So I'm interviewing, just telling these untold stories that can really just help other people in their walk in life.
Yeah. And I mean, speaking, how's that been for you? Getting out? I mean, for me, like, I never aspired to be a public speaker, and now I go out speaking, and actually it's redemptive for me, and it's rewarding for me, and it's healing for me. Has that been the same for you?
Yeah, it's definitely been its own mountain to climb. Yeah, because originally,
no pun intended, like that's.
Yeah, no, or pun intended. I don't know. Because initially I didn't have a choice. Yeah, I'm out there. I mean, maybe I had a choice. I could just say no. Right. But when I'm seeing just the effects of it and how my journey, like I said earlier in the pod, was I'm trying to find my purpose. Right. I'm out there. I'm wired. God created me a certain way. I'm out there pushing myself beyond the limits. On Everest, there's pre-Brian on Everest and, a different version afterward. I truly believe because of the impact that my story of God, not even me, but what he can do in proxy through an individual has had just amazing impacts on others. And yes, it sucks to be on stage daily or even up here, it's 14 years. I'm still emotional. But I know there's a purpose and I know it kind of goes back to get out of your own way. I could easily just go crawl in a hole and never talk about this again. Yeah. But if it's helping, heal others out there that are struggling with whatever mountains they're climbing, it's not about Everest by any means. Everyone is going through something difficult.
Yeah. Well, man, you're a pretty incredible human. as well as you, Joanne. You guys are an awesome couple, and so blessed to have you on and share your story here. We have some amazing sponsors who love this show and love our guests, and I just recommended your book to some of our sponsors, Kyle Tingwell, who's the vice president at Smith & Wesson. But our sponsors really take care of our guests. So we have a Smith & Wesson firearm of your choice. We're going to give you a list of some you can choose from and get you a Smith & Wesson firearm with a Vortex optics. We're going to put you some Gators eyewear on, because I am convinced that if you would have had a pair of Gators, that sun would have not even affected you, because they're such good guys. So you should have had them on. Thank you. We get some Gators glasses. BioPro supplement is a all natural human growth hormone supplementation, and it's incredible. I don't promote anything that I don't use, and I use it. Love BioPro, Bio Accelerator stem cell company down in Medellin, Colombia. I just got back, and I'm feeling amazing. And Ally Wealth Management, who, by the way, we're doing 2 recordings today. I'm gonna have Ryan Wheelers from Ally Wealth Management on today. We talk about tariffs and all kind of crazy stuff that's going on in the economy in the United States.
Nice.
Some think are bad. There's a lot of good stuff happening. So we're going to talk about all that today. And holy water, which I think you've been sipping on some holy water while we're here. And so definitely, guys, go get copies of Brian's books. Listen to his podcast. We'll have all the links in the show notes below. And my book, if you hadn't got a copy yet, Silent Horizons is my first fiction book, which Brian's going to venture into fiction as well. Yep. But get a copy of all these books. And by the way, if you hadn't, check out my new website, ChadRobichaux.com. It's we just did a bunch of updates to it, and it's super cool. Our team did an amazing job. So if you hadn't seen ChadRobichaux.com, check it out. If you're not yet subscribe, like, comment, share, all that stuff. We need your support to keep the show going. And if you're not yet join our Patreon. It is where behind the scenes, all kind of behind the scenes content is put together, the range, shooting. So we're going to get Joanna on camera and hear from her as well. So if you have not yet done so, please join our Patreon family. Love you guys. Thank you for supporting us, and stay resilient. Hey, what's up, Resilient family? I am so grateful for each of you who tune in every week to hear our episodes. We have such incredible guests and topics that I am passionate about, our team's passionate about, and we could not do it without you. So we're thankful for you. We love you. We appreciate you locking arms with us to be more informed, to become a more resilient community. And I want to invite you to become a tighter part of that community by joining us on Patreon. If you go to our show notes below, you can click the link and get dialed into our Patreon and get extra content weekly. You could join for $15 a month and get behind the scenes footage, get closer access to me. I have monthly Zooms that I'll be doing with some members of the community. And so we'd love to get more involved. Again, go below in the show notes and click the link and join today.